What a day in America. We're at a critical place, a critical moment, and a very decisive hour. There's a whole lot of stake, a whole lot on the table, and a whole lot that needs to be addressed. I desperately want to share some things with you on my heart, on my mind, that I believe need some redress, and ask that you'll very quickly invite as many people as possible to come into the Insomniac Circle. It is 11 o'clock Eastern Time, but it is midnight in America. We're at a very decisive hour where something has to happen. Beyond speeches, we need some dramatic changes to happen. As soon as we get to, yes, I'll be at Graceland in Baton Rouge on Sunday night at 6. So ask that those of you who are in the Louisiana, Mississippi corridor meet me in Baton Rouge on Sunday night for our call to action. It is not going to be inspiration, it's going to be mobilization for where it is that we go from here. And I want all of you who possibly can to meet us there. We're going to be streaming it. Of course, my Periscope will be there. Local media outlets will be sharing it as well. But we want to fill Graceland Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Sunday night. Hello, Boston, from Louisiana. Do me a favor, please share this on tonight. I want to speak to our people, to our community on tonight, and I need you to share it. Pastor Gail, I appreciate you doing it. Shawnee Girl 98, thank you so very much. Nisi 03, thank you so very much. I see you, Pastor Rich. I'll be in Mississippi, I think, on the 17th with you all at the Jackson, Mississippi Convention Center. But this Sunday night, I'm coming to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're at 1,000. Let's look at where it is that we are in the last 48 hours. The last 48 hours, a lot has unraveled, a lot has taken place, and a lot needs to be addressed. I was asked by a reporter today, what did I feel looking at that video? And I said to him in no uncertain terms that instinctively I felt, here we go again. We have become so anesthetized to the pain of police brutality that it has made us lose our sense of feeling and our sense of touch, because you've got this same wound and we keep pulling off the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid was ripped off for Trayvon Martin, was ripped off again for Michael Brown, ripped off again for Tamir Rice, ripped off again for Eric Gardner, ripped off again for Freddie Gray. And we turn around and here we are in the last 6 months of a black presidency, and somebody are just pouring alcohol on the wound. Sandra Bland, thank you so very much, and never any healing. Here's what nobody is addressing, that you're not going to find in any of the media pundits on the day, is that they do not realize we have not experienced not one judicial victory. Not one judicial victory have we received. It's amazing, it's unnerving in a so-called democratic society. George Zimmerman is around selling finger paints on eBay. The police officers of Tamir Rice face absolutely no charges. The police officers with Sandra Bland, no charges. Police officers with Eric Gardner, no charges. The police officers with Freddie Gray, no charges. The police officers of Michael Brown, no charges. I want to say to you, and I know for many of you, you're going to be upset, you're going to be unnerved, because a whole lot of Christians want to say, where are we with forgiveness? We can talk about forgiveness after we hear an apology. We've not heard an apology as of yet. And might I remind you, while the AME Church is in its convention, that Dylan Roof shot up 9 innocent people in Charleston, South Carolina, and is alive to talk about it, and is nowhere near facing the full levity of the charges in which he deserves. So much of what we've heard from the black church has emanated around Dr. King's I Have a Dream. That ain't where I am tonight. Tonight, I don't have a dream. I want to know whatever happened to the deacons of defense. That while it is that Martin Luther King was a high proponent of nonviolence, he was surrounded by the deacons of defense who covered him, who protected him, and had eyes out for him. I am a lifelong member of the NAACP, but I want to say to you in this hour that the question in my mind is, where's the Black Panther Party? Is the Black Panther Party, please don't listen to those in some factions of the U.S. government will make you to believe that they were terrorists. No, they were not terrorists. They operated under their constitutional right to bear arms, to protect the seniors in our community, to feed our children, and to make sure, watch this, that the police were policed. Let's cross the street and go to Minneapolis. I'm coming back to Baton Rouge in just one moment. Pastor Warren just told me I'm not going to Graceland. I'm thinking I'm going to Memphis. I'm going to Glory Land in Baton Rouge, Glory Land Church with Pastor Igerson. I'll be there at Glory Land, not Graceland. That's in Memphis. I will not be there. I'll be at Glory Land in Baton Rouge. Let's cross the street and go to Minneapolis. When we go to Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen, watch what happens. A gentleman is stopped allegedly for a broken taillight, pulls over, follows the directive, and tells the police that he's got a weapon on him. He announces it. It is not discovered. He announces it. He is told to pull out his identification and his registration. He goes to pull it out and is shot point blank range 4 times. Now I want to ask you some critical questions because people have been online asking me, where are the preachers? Where's the civil rights organizations? That ain't who I'm looking for tonight. Who I want to listen and hear for tonight is, where's the NRA? Because our dear brother in Minneapolis was legally carrying it, is licensed, and he identified himself. These are the very same principles that under different circumstances, if it is a white card-carrying member, then they would be surrounding him and covering him and protecting him. But because it's a black one, we hear absolutely nothing. And y'all don't think anything is wrong with that? They shoot up the brother 4 times in the car, while a 4-year-old is in the back of the car. Is anybody asking, what if a bullet ricocheted and lodged itself into the frail, helpless body of a 4-year-old? Where would we be? But to add insult to injury on why it is that we've got to cry and lament Black Lives Matter is that the sister who's in the car with him, they never come to see about her. They go to the officer and console him and say, "You gonna be all right, man. Don't worry about it." Something is wrong with this system. Something is wrong with this structure. And if you all don't see it, please let Stevie Wonder loan you a pair of Ray-Ban glasses because you are so far off the mark. I appreciate and I applaud the affirming word and message of our president. He spoke forthrightly and underscored the distinctive understanding of the philosophy of Black Lives Matter is not minimizing anybody else's life, but it is in fact suggesting right now it's the black lives that are in trouble that need immediate redress. I've got to say this to you. But Mr. President, I'm so appreciative that you made this stand today. I'm so thankful that you stood on the ground. I'm overwhelmed that you echoed the sentiment of Black Lives Matter. But I want to know, when is Air Force One going to land in either Baton Rouge or in Minneapolis? If Black Lives Matter and they matter just as much as any other life. Just as within 48 hours, you went, as you should have, to Orlando, Florida, to the massacre that has happened there. Might I remind you that 40 people were shot in Chicago this weekend? If you are the president, you said you were not the president of red states or blue states. You were the president of all of the United States of America. You were not just president of white people or black people or brown people and yellow people. Well, black people need you, Mr. President, and we need you now. The protest is important, but connected to the protest must be policy. What was significant for the civil rights movement was not just Martin Luther King speaking, but there had to be a Thurgood Marshall who could argue articulately towards the Supreme Court about laws being changed. Hear me, Dr. King giving the speech was in fact monumental and it was instrumental. But the speech alone in isolation did not change the Fair Housing Act, did not change the water fountain or the restrooms or giving you the license to be able to try on clothes and to live wherever it is that you liked. Laws had to be changed. And so look at where it is serendipitously that we are in this moment. That just 2 weeks ago, John Lewis, the veteran civil rights activist, took a noble stand and sat down. And I applaud him. High commendation and accolades should be afforded to him. And said that when they reconvened, that something had to happen. We have to stop being mobilized and emotional over isolated issues when we cannot see it is a systematic problem. Something has to shift and the complete system has to be overhauled. And so I'm calling out my dear sister, Loretta Lynch. Thank you so much. We applaud and we are grateful that you are the very first sister to hold this position. But Sister Lynch, let me say to you, you have to call immediately that there is a overhaul training for law enforcement across the country. Because it's not just small towns. If it's small towns alone, then we're looking at Sanford, Florida. If in fact it's just in the South, then we have no reason to look in Chicago. If it is just in big cities, then we don't have to look at Baton Rouge. If in fact it is below the Mason-Dixon, then Long Island and Baltimore are not on the map. These are not isolated issues. It is reflective of the brokenness of law enforcement in America. And for my millennials, let me say to you that police brutality is not a new issue. That is not what is new. What is new is cell phones. So now we are witnessing it happen. Can I remind you that all of us had the video to watch and see Eric Gardner get killed? So don't trip because you watching this in Baton Rouge. This is not a new show. It is a rerun. We have seen it before and we know all the highlights, so there's no reason for us to shoot for commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me. The revolution will not be televised. It will be streamed on Facebook Live, on Periscope, watch this, and on your Android and your cell phone. The number one weapon that you have in this revolution is your cell phone. So if you're going to do it, don't just tweet about Sierra getting married. I need you to tweet about how you feel and the mobilization of what we need to do nationally in order to give some redress. Now look at where we are strategically. We are 3 weeks away from the Democratic Convention that will meet in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the Republican Convention that will gather in Cleveland, Ohio. We must think uniformly because Frederick Douglass said something very striking. Power concedes nothing without a demand. I want to suggest to you, no justice, no profits. I'm going to let that resonate. No justice, no profits. When I say profits, P-R-O-F-I-T-S. No justice, no profits. We've got to shut America down in an economic way that says to America, listen, We will not go on business as usual, waiting for the next calamity to happen. To that end, I want you to see what the media is getting ready to do if you don't even got to go to sleep if you go into a nap. All of the main media is going to shift its conversation and dialogue away from Baton Rouge, away from Minneapolis, and go straight to Dallas. What happened in Dallas is unfortunate. It is egregious. But if for those of you who can't speak Black Lives Matter, and you want to fall under this umbrella that has holes in it, all lives matter. If they do, watch what will happen in the next 48 hours, where the narrative is going to shift away from Baton Rouge and Minneapolis and just focus on the police officers. Now, so that I am not misquoted, so I am not taken out of context, I am not saying that what happened in Dallas was wrong. It was absolutely wrong. Every life is of value, but we will not allow this story to diminish or to undermine or to dilute the potency of the value of the lives lost in Minneapolis and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So where are we? We've got to, in fact, speak with absolute clarity. Any boxer will tell you, you cannot fight mad, because when you fight mad, you'll just start swinging and you'll lose your focus on what it is that we're aiming at. We have to be absolutely clear on what it is that we need to see happen. We are arguing about the wrong thing. Hear me, because it's not about a no-fly list. It's not about a terrorist list. When the people in whom we are afraid of are not in ISIS, regrettably, they're in police departments. We keep talking about a bad apple. Let me tell you this, the barrel has got worms in it. It is not just one bad apple. When we keep pulling up apples that have holes and have scars and that have turned colors, watch this, from blue to red. And so it is incumbent upon us to have a clear agenda about what it is that we want. And might I suggest to you, we ought to be asking of the same thing from both parties, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We are not going to trick our vote out. I don't care if it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Both of them are going to have to come to the table and give to us a full redress as to what it is that they are going to do to completely scrub down a broken system so that our children, our young adults, and our seniors will be able to breathe free in a nation that just celebrated independence. How can we celebrate independence when we've got shackles on our consciousness, when we don't know who to run to in times of trouble? I don't know how it is that we can do it, but I want not 911. Public Enemy said 911 is a joke. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to you that we need something that we can call, it may be 111, that we able to call within our community. Hey, y'all, I just got pulled over. I need y'all to come see this. I need y'all to come witness this. I need you to record it. What do we want in terms of sensitivity training? What is the accountability factor? Because in case you don't realize it, from the last 72 hours, it is hunting season in America on black people. Watch this, with no accountability and no repercussions. You can shoot somebody in America, black. Watch this, not like it is 2016, but like it's 1619. And I refuse to do the electric slide and go backwards. We've got to move forward. There's got to be clear legislation in terms of what it is that we want. That the Justice Department under Loretta Lynch, our dear sister, in her last 7 months in office before a new administration comes in, that there is a complete new training that takes place, whether that is online or otherwise. That there's got to be a re-swearing of oath of our police officers. What is in that credo in terms of protecting and service? And let me enlarge that argument, that is not just blacks, but our brown brothers and sisters who stand with us, and our brothers and sisters in the Islamic community who have the same level of harassment, who stand with us forthrightly. I applaud and cheer our brothers and sisters who are marching tonight all over the country. But the protests have got to walk in lockstep with the policy. The policy has got to be shifted in terms of policing. You cannot do internal administrative investigation in these circumstances. You can't. When the gentleman who killed the young man in Baton Rouge, his father is a candidate to be the chief of police in Baton Rouge. Are you kidding me? Baton Rouge, when I come to y'all Sunday night, I'm coming to fire it all the way up, because I just found out you all still have until July 22nd to file to run for office in Baton Rouge. I need a new mayor, a new police chief, a new city council, and we got to groom these young people to fill and to take this position. This election is going to be more critical and more pivotal, watch this, than 2008. In 2008, a lot of our mobilization for the election was symbolic. We were glad to get a black president. This one, we got to move from symbol to substance. Where are we in terms of the economy? Where are we in terms of wealth creation? Where are we in terms of entrepreneurship? Where are we in terms of a competitive education? Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have got to give us a clear and a concise agenda and plan for that to happen. I am challenging all of our churches to do three things. Please write this down, somebody who's taking notes. You've got to do three things, and I need it to happen in the next 45 days. Number one, every church has got to do a program, a seminar, a symposium for every person in your church. I'm talking to black churches, brown churches, and mosques. What do you do when you are stopped by the police? There's got to be a symposium in the next 30 to 45 days. Every church, black, brown, and every mosque, what to do when you are stopped by the police. Our young people need to know it, our men need to know it, and our sisters who are, if they're caught by themselves, they need to know it. The second thing that has to happen in every place of faith is there has to be a bullet agenda of what it is that you expect in this electoral process, not just nationally, but the old adage is that all politics is local. What are the things that are up in this electoral process that are relative to your community? Whether there is a line item that you need to investigate in terms of funding for public schools. I need you to find out, is more money being allocated for incarceration than it is for education? You've got to have a report card on those who are up for office. Where have they stood in this process and in this place? Now, connected to that, there is a B. I told you that we're having protests, we're having politics, but we have to discuss profits. Profits. America don't care nothing about your t-shirt. They are unfazed about your hashtag. But when you impact that cash register, oh baby, now you talking. When it is that the Montgomery bus boycott shifted everything in the South, it was not because of Dr. King's eloquence. It because they hit a black eye into the economy of that city. We've got to really think through where it is that we are doing targeted spending and targeted withdrawal of funds. Tonight, I am not prepared and equipped to tell you what that one thing is, but I'm telling you that we've got to start leaning, thinking, and processing in that direction. Baton Rouge, Alabama, you are going to be the template because all of America is watching and looking to see how it is that you're going to move forward. Here's the third one. The third one, I know I'm going to be booed. I've got almost 3,000 people online right now. I know I'm getting ready to get booed. Some of you are going to get upset. Some of you are going to log off. Some of you are not going to be in agreement. But those who are going to ride with me, let me give it to you. We have got to begin raising men in our community. I didn't even want to go here, but I'm here now. We gotta raise men in our community who will do community policing. Men who operate with a level of discipline. Men, watch this, who don't like to fight but are prepared to fight. That's very clear. Men who don't, if you like to fight, I don't want you in this army. Men, watch this, who don't like to fight but are prepared to defend their community. Now, hear me, what I'm getting ready to say before you shout amen and say preach black man, is that these men who we are gonna have to raise up in our community, they cannot just look at the police. The men who I want raised up will in fact hold in our community, that we end violence in our community no matter who brings it. Whether you are a police officer, whether you are a gangbanger, whether you are a drifter, it ain't going down in our neighborhood. We are going back to what Dr. King called the beloved community, not the hood. We are community, we are family, but that has to happen through training. And so I want to really raise up a paradigm in our communities where our men will look out so that this will not be another bloody summer. And let me enlarge the tentacles. Let me correct myself while I'm yet speaking. It doesn't just have to be men, because we got some sisters who are soldiers for real, for real. So let me say those who got a heart for our people, got a heart for our community, and will in fact stand in the trenches for us to get it done. It has to happen. I'm coming in Sunday to Baton Rouge to Glory Land Church at 6 p.m. And I'm really going to go into prayer for God to give me a clear blueprint, a clear map as to how it is that we begin to incrementally lay this out across the country and what needs to happen. This weekend I'll be in Philadelphia for the AME Church's 200th anniversary, and I'm going to speak to some spiritual leaders there. But please know that I'm going to say by Tuesday the latest, I'm going to be back with you on a finite plan on what we need to do in terms of this election in November, how it is that we roll out raising up an army, I'm going to call it Gideon's Army, in our community, as well as making sure that we have a clear economic agenda as we move forward. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but we can't just have a protest if we don't talk about policy and we do not talk about impacting profit. P-R-O-F-I-T. And I got to give you one more. Protest, polity, profit. Hear me. I'm not just an activist. I'm a pastor. And as a consequence, this fourth one is the first one, and that is prayer. We've got to go into a season of prayer because the enemy has declared warfare on our men, on our children, on our sisters. Watch this. And those of you who operate in a level of faith, I need you to go in earnest in prayer. Pray for protection, pray for revelation, pray for insight, and pray for us that we might in fact be able to flow in unity. The enemy hates to see us walking together, but we're going to do it. The revolution is here. It is not in black and white footage. It's not in Selma. It's in Baton Rouge. It's in Minneapolis. It's in Baltimore. It's in Chicago. It's in New York City. It's in New Orleans. It's in Jacksonville. And it's wherever it is that you are. Go tell it on the mountain. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Let's turn it out. It's time for a change. We are the generation our grandmothers prayed for. Can I give that to you again? We are the generation our grandmothers prayed for. Rise up, you mighty race. Accomplish what you will. Who knows? But we were born for such a time as this. Baton Rouge, I'm looking for you Sunday night at Glory Land. It's not going down in the DMs. It's going down in the loop. I holla.